83. Harrison Ford doesn't bother pretending anymore. His voice, still gravelly enough to sand wood, carries the weight of 1,000 stories, and none of them are sanitized for polite company. The grin that once made the world fall in love with Han Solo now comes with the kind of honesty only time and a lifetime in Hollywood can give you. The man's lived it all: adventure, fame, heartbreak, and a few too many close calls with the truth. But in a recent sit-down, when a cheeky host leaned forward and asked the one question that could make even the most seasoned movie star squirm, Ford didn't blink. Harrison, the host, said, smiling like he knew he was playing with fire, "In all your years, who were the women in Hollywood that really got to you? The ones who made you forget the script?" The audience chuckled, expecting Ford to sidestep or give some diplomatic answer. Instead, the old smuggler leaned back, a shadow of mischief flickering in his eyes, and said in that rumbling baritone, 7. There are 7 women who could have had me, no questions asked. The room went still. Then Ford laughed, a low, dangerous sound that could have been pulled straight from the cockpit of Millennium Falcon. "Don't look so shocked," he said. "You spend 50 years in this town. You're bound to lose sleep over a few faces you never forgot." And so began the confession. 7 names that shaped his imagination, haunted his dreams, and reminded him that even legends have their weaknesses. 1. Carrie Fisher, the rebel who knew too much. He didn't hesitate with the first name. "Carrie Fisher," he said softly, smiling like a man revisiting a dangerous memory. God, she was brilliant, wickedly funny. She could tear you apart with one sentence and make you thank her for it. Their chemistry as Han and Leia wasn't just movie magic, it was chaos barely contained between takes. People thought we were acting, Ford admitted. Truth is, we were just trying not to give ourselves away. He described the way she'd lean in before a scene, whisper something outrageous that could never make it to the tabloids, then smile that devil's smile as the director shouted, "Action!" Ford would stand there, blaster in hand, trying not to laugh or think about the line she'd just fed him. "Carrie was the kind of woman you don't forget," he said quietly. "She wasn't perfect. She was electric. You didn't try to tame that. You just held on and hoped you survived it." If she'd ever said the word back then, he added with that trademark smirk, I'd have followed her straight into hyperspace, and I wouldn't have looked back. 2. Sigourney Weaver, the woman who needed no saving. "Sigourney Weaver," Ford said next, and for a moment his grin softened into admiration. She walked on screen in Alien, and every man in Hollywood suddenly realized what power really looked like. He chuckled, rubbing his jaw. Most women play damsels. Sigourney played the one who'd save your ass, and then lecture you for being in a way. What drew him and wasn't just her beauty, it was her calm. That unflinching confidence that made men stumble over themselves to impress her. "I was supposed to be the hero," Ford said. "Han Solo, Indiana Jones. But Sigourney, she made you want to hand over the whip and say, 'You take it from here.'" He laughed again, low and rueful. If I'd ever found myself alone with her in the 80s, professionalism wouldn't have lasted long. Then he paused, as if confessing something even deeper. "Some women you admire from a distance. Sigourney, she makes you wish she'd tell you what to do next." 3. Sophia Loren, the goddess who redefined desire. When Sophia Loren's name left his lips, Ford's tone changed. It wasn't just admiration, it was reverence. "Sophia Loren," he said. "Good Lord, she didn't need dialogue. She was dialogue." He recalled watching her films in the 60s and 70s, studying her like a student obsessed with a masterpiece. She'd walk into a scene, and you'd forget what language anyone was speaking. She had this fire, confidence, so natural it made you question every definition of beauty you'd ever heard. Ford chuckled, remembering a fantasy. "I used to think if I ever got seated next to her at a Hollywood dinner, I'd probably forget my own name. Hell, I'd have signed over my career if she asked nicely." He shook his head, half amused, half entranced. There are beautiful women, and then there are women who make you believe in beauty. Sophia made desire feel inevitable. She didn't ask for attention, she commanded it. And if she ever frowned at you, you'd spend the rest of your life trying to win her back. He leaned forward, voice dropping to a gravelly whisper. If she'd ever whispered my name, I'd have followed her straight into the fire, and I wouldn't have regretted a damn thing. For Raquel Welch, the earthquake in a fur bikini. The grin returned, sharper this time. Raquel Welch, he said, exhaling like a man remembering his first sin. She wasn't just beautiful, she was a seismic event. In the 60s, Raquel didn't walk onto a screen, she detonated onto it. Every guy I knew had her poster on a wall, Ford said, laughing. The difference is, I was already daydreaming about how fast I'd tear it down if she ever walked through the door. She didn't flirt, she existed. That was enough. She had this way of looking at you, like she could see every reckless thought in your head, and she liked it. But what fascinated him wasn't her body or fame, it was her nerve. Raquel didn't play coy, he said. She knew her power, and she didn't apologize for it. He laughed, shaking his head. If we'd ever done a movie together, they'd have had to burn the film stock. No director could have kept that under control. Then he added, more quietly, some women you admire. Raquel, she's the kind you survive, if you're lucky. 5. Meryl Streep, the genius who could undo you with a look. When Meryl Streep's name came up, Ford's expression softened. Now, Meryl, he said, smiling. People talk about her as the greatest actress alive, and they're right. But what they don't say is, she's devastatingly magnetic. He leaned forward, lowering his voice. You sit across from her, and she listens, really listens, and when Meryl Streep looks at you like you're the only person in the room, you melt. Doesn't matter who you are. It wasn't about glamour or seduction. It was about focus, intelligence, and presence. She never needed flash, Ford said. She just had to be. That's real power. He chuckled. If we'd ever been on set together in the 80s, I'd have been in trouble. The good kind of trouble. You can't fake chemistry with a woman like that. You just try to keep up. Then came the line that silenced the studio. People think attraction's about beauty, he said. But sometimes it's brilliance that keeps you awake at night. 6. Michelle Pfeiffer, the enchantress with the dangerous smile. By the time Ford reached Michelle Pfeiffer, his grin was pure mischief. Michelle Pfeiffer, he said, savoring the name. She wasn't just gorgeous, she was dangerous. You looked at her and knew she could ruin you, and you'd thank her for it. From Scarface to Catwoman, Pfeiffer carried a kind of elegance that dared you to look too long. She didn't play mystery, Ford said. She was mystery. Smart, sharp, and just wicked enough to keep you guessing. He admitted that even watching her on screen felt personal. You'd see her in a scene and suddenly forget everyone else existed. She had that power to turn a line into a dare. The host teased him. Would he have tried his luck? Ford laughed that gravelly laugh. I'd have tried, he said, and failed spectacularly. But it would have been worth it just to try. He paused, almost wistful. Some women make you want to protect them. Michelle made you want to surrender. 7. Helen Mirren, the queen who never needed a crown. When the host thought Ford was done, the old icon smirked. You said 7, the host reminded him. Who's the last one? Ford's eyes lit up. Helen Mirren, he said without hesitation. The woman's pure dynamite. He leaned back, hands clasped, lost in thought. I met her once, years ago. She had this calm confidence, the kind that made the whole room straighten up without her saying a word. And those eyes, like she knew every secret you'd ever had and was just deciding if she'd let you keep them. He laughed. Most women her age were trying to stay young. Helen? She made aging look like an art form. You didn't want to be young around her. You wanted to be worthy. Ford admitted there was something both royal and mischievous about her. She could talk about Shakespeare one minute and crack a joke that'd make a sailor blush the next. That's lethal. And the worst part, he grinned. She knew it. Then came the confession that brought the audience to their feet. If Helen Mirren ever crooked a finger at me, he said, I'd still show up, Walker Kane and all. Epilogue. What remains when the lights fade? When the laughter died down, the host asked the question everyone was thinking. So, Harrison, looking back, do you regret not chasing any of them? Ford smiled, slow and thoughtful. You don't regret what you didn't have, he said. You remember the moments that made you feel alive. The glances, the almosts, the what-ifs. That's what sticks. He leaned forward, eyes glinting with the same mischief that once made millions fall in love with a scruffy-looking smuggler. I've flown spaceships, cracked whips, and jumped off more cliffs than I can count. But the truth? The things that stay with you aren't the stunts. They're the people who made you wish the cameras would stop rolling. He laughed one last time, deep and unfiltered. At 83, I don't chase the fantasy anymore, he said, but I still remember every woman who made me believe in it. And with that, Harrison Ford, rogue hero legend, leaned back in his chair, that dangerous smile creeping across his face. The room erupted in applause, but Ford just waved it off. By the time Ford reached Michelle Pfeiffer, his grin was pure mischief. Michelle Pfeiffer, he said, savoring the name. She wasn't just gorgeous, she was dangerous. You looked at her and knew she could ruin you, and you'd thank her for it. From Scarface to Catwoman, Pfeiffer carried a kind of elegance that dared you to look too long. She didn't play mystery, Ford said. She was mystery. Smart, sharp, and just wicked enough to keep you guessing. He admitted that even watching her on screen felt personal. You'd see her in a scene and suddenly forget everyone else existed. She had that power to turn a line into a dare. The host teased him. Would he have tried his luck? Ford laughed that gravelly laugh. I'd have tried, he said, and failed spectacularly. But it would have been worth it just to try. He paused, almost wistful. Some women make you want to protect them. Michelle made you want to surrender. 7. Helen Mirren, the queen who never needed a crown. When the host thought Ford was done, the old icon smirked. You said 7, the host reminded him. Who's the last one? Ford's eyes lit up. Helen Mirren, he said without hesitation. The woman's pure dynamite. He leaned back, hands clasped, lost in thought. I met her once, years ago. She had this calm confidence, the kind that made the whole room straighten up without her saying a word. And those eyes, like she knew every secret you'd ever had and was just deciding if she'd let you keep them. He laughed. Most women her age were trying to stay young. Helen? She made aging look like an art form. You didn't want to be young around her. You wanted to be worthy. Ford admitted there was something both royal and mischievous about her. She could talk about Shakespeare one minute and crack a joke that'd make a sailor blush the next. That's lethal. And the